everybody, Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is J.J. Jackson, and it is so great to have you here with us on this Friday. What an amazing show of Locked On Blue Devils we've got planned for you today. As ACC Tipoff has come and gone, we're now 24 days away from the start of the Duke men's basketball season. That's so exciting. Jon Scheyer, Jeremy Roach, Jacob Grandison met with the media at ACC Tipoff, and we're going to talk about all of that coming up on today's show. Locked On Blue Devils is a daily podcast that talks about everything going on in the life of Duke athletics. Of course, tomorrow we've got that big-time football game against North Carolina. Mike Elko has a chance to beat the Tar Heels for the first time in his Duke coaching career. We talk about that. We talk basketball. We talk everything here on Locked On Blue Devils. So if you haven't subscribed already to wherever you get your podcasts, please take the time to do that for us. Your support means the absolute world here at Locked On Blue Devils. This episode of the show is brought to you by Sling TV. Don't miss this week's matchup between Duke and North Carolina right here on Sling. Sling, the TV you love for a price you'll love. Make sure you try it today. All right, on today's show, I've got my buddy Dustin from the Devil's Den podcast here with me. We're talking about everything that there is to know from ACC Tipoff. Dustin, my friend, the time is greatly appreciated. And what an opportunity you had earlier this week to go to ACC Tipoff. I'm sure that was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, like I was telling you earlier, Josh Smith and I went, and it was our first experience doing it. Obviously, we're not journalists. We're not writing articles and such. We just do our own little piddly podcast. But we were fortunate enough to get a media credential and get to go and see what all the hoopla is about. And we just had an amazing experience, to be honest with you.
24 days until the start of the Duke men's basketball season. And now that you can say you went to the unofficial tip-off, that's what they've always deemed those media day festivities. You know basketball is right around the corner. Does it truly feel to you like we're right around the corner from the start of a new season?
Yeah, Countdown to Craziness is next week, I believe next Friday. So countdown's coming up. And then a couple days after that, we'll get into the exhibition games and the secret scrimmage with Houston's coming up. So yeah, just looking forward to hearing and getting to see a little bit of the guys.
What were your biggest observations going through ACC Tipoff for the first time? Not from the Duke perspective, but just Dustin Scheyer looking back on, okay, this was my day at ACC Tipoff. What impressed you? What stood out to you?
I mean, obviously these guys have been doing it for a long time, and it's just a well-oiled machine how the guys are coming. They've got stations, they're doing media radio, they're doing ACC Network, ESPN, whatever it is. And then obviously they go into the main ballroom for your official press conference, I guess. And then after that, they break out into the breakouts. So one-on-one kind of sessions, but just how it just kind of seamlessly moves all afternoon was pretty impressive.
It is impressive. I mean, and for so many teams to be there, for representatives from each team to be there and to take center stage, like you're saying, you've got your print and traditional media that wants opportunities, TV cameras galore. Every television affiliate throughout the Atlantic coast is there at the festivities. And so we got to see Jon Scheyer there for the first time. That was the biggest thing, I would imagine, from everybody that had been in attendance for a number of years, right? This was year one for you at ACC Tipoff, much like it was year one for Jon Scheyer to be at ACC Tipoff as the head coach. For folks that have been there forever, right? For Jay Billis, who's been covering the event for a number of years for ESPN, for some of those other longstanding media members, to not see Mike Krzyzewski walk out to introduce a new season of Duke men's basketball. That's another one of those firsts that it's like, yeah, this is happening. Coach K is no longer the head coach of Duke men's basketball, Dustin.
Yeah, it was last year, no Roy Williams for the first time in 15 years. And then this year, no Coach K. So you're right. Somebody mentioned it in there, how it's kind of a little bit different aura around it. But I'll tell you what, John, I've went back and watched the TV recap of ACC Media Day, and John knocked it out of the park. He's great with the media. He's just a personable guy, really approachable, at least right now, really approachable. Like I told you off air, he shook my hand initially. I was talking to the SID, kind of introducing myself, and Jon come right up and stuck his hand out and, didn't want to fanboy it, but hey, Dustin Shoe, Devil's Den. So nice to meet you. So it was a really great experience from that point on.
That's awesome. And I talked about this a little bit on Wednesday's show. In addition to Jon Scheyer, 2 student athletes from every single team are required to go to ACC Tipoff. And so Duke, of course, sent their lone team captain in Jeremy Roach. And then Jacob Grandison, the transfer from Illinois, was also in attendance. Let's talk with Jeremy Roach first, not about anything that he had to say or anything like that, but just Dustin, that he was asked to go represent the squad.
Yeah, I think that's big. He's obviously, I think he realizes this is his year to kind of step up and be the leader. He is that veteran presence that's played the most minutes for us so far. And he realizes that that came through in some of the answers that he gave to the questions that Quinn Cook personally had, talked to him at K Academy, like, hey, this is your year to lead the guys. So I think he's well aware of it. He's also aware that there's going to be some chatter and criticisms, and he's going to have to kind of brush that off and just, stick with the plan for the long haul.
And he's going to do just that. Like, we have full confidence that Jeremy Roach is going to be able to do that. Jacob Grandison also selected to be a representative for Duke men's basketball. Talk to me about that decision.
Like I said, it's kind of a weird situation. We're always young, but this team's not only young, but it also has just 11 fresh faces. There's 11 new guys, even walk-ons that we don't have coming back. So just the plain fact that we had to send 2 people, and one of them's a player we've never even seen play in a Duke uniform yet.
What do you think that says about Jacob Grandison, that he was selected to be there?
Yeah, definitely. I think that shows, he's probably really got a good personality to speak with the media, maybe better than some of the other guys, but also maybe just the fact that he's shown that kind of leadership in practice, and that he can, get on the teammates and hold them accountable and responsible, and show these freshmen, what it's like to play in the ACC and Division I basketball.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to see what his play on the floor looks like. And obviously those guys fielded a variety of different questions. I'm sure the players were asked a number of different times what it's like to have so many guys coming together and playing ball for the first time with all the newcomers. And we'll get more specifically into them collectively coming together. But from Roach or Grandison in particular, was there anything they said that you found interesting?
One thing that somebody brought up is how last year it was made a big deal. This is K's last game against Carolina, K's last whatever, and how they had to kind of block that out. And then he posed the question, is this year going to be the same, but it's Jon's first, right? So they're going to have to deal with a little bit of that. I don't think the weight is as much as the K's last was last year, but I think they definitely feel a little bit of pressure. They want to do well for Jon. I think they believe in Jon, and they want him to be successful, and they want to have a great year this year.
We'll talk about more of the narratives, more of the talking points from ACC Tip-Off after our first time out here on Locked On Blue Devils. This episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. It's the easiest place to spice up the college football season. Underdog Fantasy is very easy to play and available in over 30 states. Just pick between 2 and 5 players across any team, not just Duke football, and decide if they will finish higher or lower. One of the easiest fantasy ways to play games out there, and you can win cold, hard cash in a single game. Sign up with the promo code LOCKEDON. That's one word, LOCKEDON, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. If you deposit $100, you'll get $100 free. Go to Underdog.com or find the Underdog Fantasy app in the App Store / Google Play Store. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, one word. Get in on the college football pick'em action today. Welcome back into Locked On Blue Devils. I'm JJ Jackson alongside Dustin Shoe, one of the co-hosts for the Devil's Den podcast. And Dustin, talking about this Duke men's basketball team at ACC Tip-Off earlier in the week. Everyone wants to talk about the number of newcomers to this Duke team, right? 11 new players are going to factor into Duke men's basketball this season. Jeremy Roach comes back as your captain, as your point guard who played tons of minutes, and then Jalen Blakes is back going into his sophomore season as well. I mean, we've talked a good bit about the newcomers, but now we got to hear Coach Scheyer and the players talk about that specifically themselves. What did they say about the fact that there were so many newcomers?
It's just been I guess for one, it was tough getting started because Proctor wasn't here for a couple months. So once they got him back together, they just needed to get, everybody on the same floor and start just kind of seeing what pieces fit together. It is going to be a challenge for Jon. He's got a lot of players that I think can contribute minutes. So he's going to have to strike that balance and kind of keep everybody happy and keep everybody engaged and involved, because you never know when an injury can strike or whatever, and you're the next man up. So everybody has to be engaged. I think he wants that to start out. And then, by January, do we have the Coach K kind of down to 7-man rotation? Maybe. That's still, right now Jon's saying the right things. I don't think he wants to discourage anyone from trying to fight for playing time. So
yeah, no, I think anytime you've got a lot of newcomers, the way to kind of combat that and the beauty of college basketball or just basketball in general is you can play pickup, right? Like these guys have been able to play pickup all summer long, whether the coaches are there watching them or not. And as simple as that sounds, Dustin, like just getting out there and playing hoops with your teammates, even if it's against your own squad, that's going to help you build that chemistry as the season nears.
Yeah, and you just get familiar with each other, learn each other's habits, where a guy likes to get the ball at. I know Jaden Shute had mentioned that he has to kind of always keep his eye on Proctor, because Proctor will hit him with a pass from across court, even if he was looking into the stands. He's like, you always have to be ready to catch the ball and shoot it when Proctor has the ball, which I enjoyed hearing.
Yeah, no, because that guy can make passes all over the floor, and we're going to really enjoy watching him play. And then just the conditioning level that goes into, hey, let's play pickup games, let's get up, let's run a little bit. The competitive spirit that can be developed throughout those epic matchups. Like, at the end of the day, basketball is basketball, 5-on-5. Like, none of that is going to change just because you've got all these newcomers coming together to play the sport. But it is just this big talking point that we've got for Duke going into this season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions, and obviously with a new coach, is he going to run a deep rotation? Is it going to be shortened? How many minutes are we going to be giving these freshmen compared to how many are we going to? We have some veterans that I think Ryan can contribute a good bit. Jon did mention he didn't know about Max and Kel Catchings, how much playing time they'll get, but they've been invaluable in practice sessions so far. And one thing I did want to tell you, JJ, I did ask Jon a question about your boy, Jaden Shute. I asked Jon if when he recruited him, if he saw a little bit of himself in Jaden, because they're both, gunslingers. And Jon was for the first time ever that I've heard him really humble and graciously said that he believed that Jaden was a better shooter than him. I don't know if he deep down thinks that, but to say that it bodes well for Jaden. He did mention Jaden can jump a little higher, which I do agree on that point. That's probably a no-brainer there.
I am still piloting or conducting the Jaden Shute hype train, and I'm going to continue to do that. So I certainly
I'm slowly catching. I'm slowly going to get on board.
You need to.
The clips I've seen, I'm like, this kid, he doesn't hold it long. He
hasn't missed. He hasn't missed. All these clips. That's what I keep telling people. The clips they release. If people watching us on YouTube today or listening to the podcast, in the comments below, I'm on Twitter at _JJ_Jackson_. If you could send me a timestamp and a direct link to Jaden Shute missing a shot, I would love to see it, because there's not one out there on the internet. So Josh Cox went to the practice that they had available when they partnered with Duke Children's a few weeks ago. He's well aware of where I stand on the Jaden Shute hype train, sent me a video from practice of Jaden Shute. And the only shot that he attempted in the video I got was a make. So there's just not video evidence out there that this guy misses.
Hey, Marshall Plumlee's 1 for 1. This guy could be, we don't know yet.
Yeah, the day he finally does miss a shot is going to be very humbling for me. I may or may not shed a tear when that takes place. But no, the athleticism, that's awesome, because we've seen the guy dunk several times in his highlights and that sort of thing. Never really saw that from Jon Scheyer.
John was more of a rim grazer if he was
That's
going
right.
to put one down.
That's right. Yeah, no, I'm fired up about the versatility of what this Duke basketball team can be this upcoming season, all the lineup variations that could be had and that sort of thing. And I think that's something that we can wrap up our show today, and we'll talk about that here in just a moment. Make sure you get more on the ACC by making Locked On ACC your second listen every day. Host Candace Cooper and the local experts of Locked On, like myself, take you across the conference in 30 minutes. We had a lot of fun previewing the Duke and North Carolina football game coming up tomorrow. What a big-time matchup that's going to be between Mike Elko, the head coach of your Duke Blue Devils, and Mack Brown, the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. Clemson back in action this weekend as well. They've got a big game taking on Florida State. So a lot of big action. You need to make sure that you make Locked On ACC your second listen of the day. Final few moments here of today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. I'm JJ Jackson alongside Dustin Shu, reviewing ACC Tipoff. A lot of people have questions about the versatility of the Duke basketball team, lineup variations that could be out there. What did you learn? What did you hear from both Scheyer and the players as well, Dustin?
Yeah, I think they all kind of hit the same things. It's a very versatile group. They can play big. They can play small. You can have a big lineup where you're rolling Lively, Flip, Mitchell, Whitehead, Proctor out. You know, that's 6'4", 6'5", and up with a couple 7-footers on the back line. And you can play small as well, where you may have Mitchell playing the 5. And Derek at the 4, you know, so there's a lot that they can do. They can play, like I said, play small, play big, play fast, can slow it down. But I think generally from Jon's comments that they want to play fast. They want to get up and down. He did mention how Derek, how well he runs the floor. And, you know, when you have a big man like that can run the floor, you can get a lot of easy baskets. Think like, and I hate to say it, Tyler Zeller was really great at this.
Right.
You know, just as soon as the shot goes up, if he knows his guy's got it, take off. You got an easy, you know, lob pass ahead for a dunk, and a lot of easy baskets that way. I think Lively will get a number of those. Yeah,
rim running is so important, and for Lively to be great at that, from what we've heard in practice, is outstanding. And that's the big question that so many people have: is how do you fit all these bigs together, right? And then on top of that, Ryan Young, like we said a little bit earlier in our conversation today, Dustin. He wants to see the floor a little bit. He's this different, bigger body dynamic that your offense and defense can utilize in spurts. But then, okay, we're talking about Derek Lively and Flip and Mark Mitchell and Ryan Young. What's the problem, Dustin? Well, the problem is we also have a ton of guards, and they want to be factored in as well. Like, it's just tough because at the end of the day, like we said, when you simplify basketball, it's 5-on-5. Only 5 guys get to be out there on the floor, and there's only one ball to share.
Well, that's where Captain Roach is going to come in.
Yeah,
you know,
that's his job. That's right.
I think he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot, and if he doesn't, Proctor will. And from everything I've heard, that's probably a good thing. They say he takes care of the ball for the most part, but sees the floor really well. You know, he's got that FIBA game, so he's not looking at the guy right beside him. You might look at a skip pass a lot more. But yes, it's going to be their job to kind of keep everybody happy and get everybody the ball in their spots. But going back to the big guys, I mean, you got Lively that you can use a defensive anchor and catching lobs. And then Ryan Young's going to be a little bit more playing below the rim, but he's got incredible footwork and touch around the basket. So we've got a lot of different variations that we can throw at people. I'm
going to be so tempted to call him Captain Roach and only Captain Roach from here on out. That's great.
Captain Roach.
That's amazing. That's your job as a point guard, is to get us in the right spots. You're also the team captain, and Captain Roach just sounds awesome. I'm definitely going to have to do that.
He's the extension of the head coach on the floor.
Right.
So, well, I'm looking forward to what Jeremy definitely finished the year off with the bang. He had a great run in the Final Four, and I think he's going to kind of piggyback off of that and propel himself into a big year for us.
Dustin, what did we find out about Derek Whitehead at ACC Tipoff? What did we find out?
Jon did say that it's coming along very well, and that he thinks he'd be ready for the start of the season. Now, whether or not that they, actually when that time rolls around, if they run him out, I'm not sure. They might be a little bit more cautious. But I think he's getting ready to play. It sounds great, like everything's going well.
I can't wait to see him back on the floor and to see what he looks like in that Duke uniform, because we have so many of these opinions of these newcomers, and yet we've never seen them play a game in the Duke jersey to truly get a picture in our head of what these guys look like, their strengths, weaknesses, and that sort of thing. So 24 days away, man. We'll get to see it very soon.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. And before we get out of here, I did want to say shout out to Mike Bray. We met Mike Bray outside the hotel, and he just chatted with us like we were like best friends for
That's
like 15
awesome.
minutes. Just a really cool dude. So shouts Coach Bray. Wish you good luck in every game except for the ones you play the Blue Devils.
He's way too forgotten about in the grand scheme of the brotherhood.
Coach.
He's way too forgotten about. And I'm like, Duke fans, what are we doing?
Well, as I was a Duke fan. I was a kid, when he was on the sidelines for us, but he was Mr. Final Four with us. I think he was 6 of the 8 seasons that he was on the sidelines with us. We went to a Final Four. And that was in the 7 of 9 year span that we did the final. We got spoiled when Mike Bray was around. That's basically what happened.
Yes. Yeah, no, we definitely did. Fortunately, I wasn't in the world just yet when all that spoiling was taking place. I was right there at the finish of this big run. But I could definitely tell the Duke perspective of how you would have been spoiled for a run like that. And look, we're fresh off of a Final Four trip. Had a big run last season. We mentioned the secret scrimmage coming up. Last year, we saw Villanova and Duke have the secret scrimmage before the start of the year. Both teams ended up in the Final Four. Houston seems like a very popular Final Four pick this year, so I would love for the same thing to happen.
Where you're going with that, JJ.
Yeah.
I like where you're going with that.
I'm pretty good at connecting dots.
I hadn't thought of it yet, but you're right. We did see Villanova, and reports were that, I don't know if we necessarily won the game because they're playing like, situational things, but I know Paulo showed out. So Houston's going to be a big test for us. They've got some guys that can play. So with a young team, I just hope that if anything, they learn from the experience because November's rolling around and it's about to get real.
Anything else from ACC Tipoff or any big Duke basketball thoughts you want to hit on before we get out of here, Dustin?
Man, just everybody there was so nice and so gracious. I chatted with Randolph Childress. I had to mention the famous crossover of Jeff McGinnis when he waved him back up. So talked to him, talked to Jay Billis, Mike Bray, as I mentioned. Coach Bucky Waters was there, still getting around. I think Bucky said he was like 85 or 86 now. Ooh. Still getting out and making the round. So just really appreciative of everybody that was there. It was just a great time, great experience. And Brendan Marks, friend of the show here. Brendan
both
kept us,
yeah, absolutely.
Brendan kept us from looking like rookies. He pointed us in the right direction and had lunch with us and made us feel comfortable. So just shout out to Brendan as well.
Let me put you on the spot. This is the last thing before we get out of here, Dustin.
All right.
I need to know what you think can happen in tomorrow's football game between Duke and North Carolina. From inside Wallace Wade Stadium, 8 p.m. Eastern start. Hopefully a lot of rowdy fans there to support this Duke defense going up against a sensational North Carolina passing offense. What are you thinking?
I was in attendance for Appalachian State Carolina game. Right. Carolina came to Boone a couple months back or so and put up 63 points. And so tomorrow, it's a big game. I think Mike Elko's done an amazing job so far with this Duke team in his first year. And look, all you can ask for is a chance to win. So just, play as well as you can. And hopefully we're there at the end and maybe a chance to sneak one out and ring that bell and bring it back on our side. Yeah,
we need that bell back. That's for sure. Hopefully Riley Leonard and the boys can get that done for us on Saturday. Always do appreciate the time, Dustin. You're one of the co-hosts for the Devil's Den podcast. You and Josh Smith and Raul Clement, you guys always have outstanding content there at the Devil's Den. Do me a favor. Tell me some of the podcasts that you've had out recently and what people can find there if they find your podcast feed.
Yeah, so recently we've done an interview with Brendan Marks. We've had assistant coach Jay Lucas on recently. We also kind of in the middle of the summer did our championship series. We're going to be putting out a little something on Media Day and a CTC preview, and then just kind of ramp it up and get ready to not do 5 shows a week. I would die from that. So we're going to at least try to put out 1 or 2 a week. Though, start ramping it up.
Thanks for leaving that for me. I'll take down the 5-day week responsibility.
Five a week is all you, bro. I'm gonna be out golfing at least 3 of those days.
Yeah. That's outstanding. Dustin, thank you for the time as always. We'll talk again soon.
I appreciate it.
That's my buddy Dustin Scheyer from the Devil's Den podcast joining us here on the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. Such a great conversation. Go support what they've got going on over there. We'll be back later in the week to continue to get you set for that Duke and North Carolina matchup, and all next week getting you set for Countdown to Craziness. That'll do it for today's show. As always, go Duke. Talk to you soon. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.